Welcome to the Kubit Data Table Training Guide. Today we'll talk about what a data table is and how to build them. Data tables are a lot like query reports in that their builders are very similar. Unlike query reports though, data table gives you your information as a tabular format, meaning that instead of getting a line chart or a bar chart like you would in query, you'll just get everything in a table. So that brings us to the first way to build data tables, which is through a query report. So I have this query report here, and as you can see, I'm just counting the number of streams completed and breaking down by plan type. When I scroll down, I might look at this and say, oh, well, this is a little busy for my taste. Maybe I just want to see the numbers and nothing else. So what I can do is scroll down to the next step section, and I can click on data table. As you can see, it ported over my count events by stream completed as well as the plan type. When I hit execute, it's going to give me my data now in a tabular format. So because I included this breakdown here, you can see the different plan types along the side and my measure of stream completed up here with the overall count along with the counts of each individual breakdown. One thing you might notice is that for our query report, it had a granularity of daily. For data tables, the granularity is always going to be all time. That's why you don't see the granularity option right here when you're building your report. Moving on. Another great feature to use is the compare mode. This really stands out in comparison to query. Let's quickly talk about how I built this query. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first select unique users, and then I'm looking at the unique users who did the main landing event. I'm breaking down by content type, and then comparing to previous week. So as we can see down here, we've got our breakdown separating out shows and movies, but now we also have two new columns that are current and previous. You can see these both fall under our main landing event up here. Current is always going to refer to this time range right here. The previous is going to be based on what you set the previous compare mode to. So in this instance, it's going to be previous week. As you can see, you got the numbers broken out by breakdown and their time periods. Compare really shines in comparison to query because of the show percent change. When I toggle that on, you can see I get the percent delta for all of these three rows. And so it gives you not only the breakdowns in their percent deltas, but it gives you the general as well. Moving forward, we can include other things like segments and multiple measures. So in this particular query, I'm measuring the unique users who started a stream, the unique users who completed a stream, and I'm segmenting that out by people who did purchase a subscription or people who didn't purchase a subscription. Lastly, I'm still including this compare to previous week. One thing you'll notice is that this data table is much smaller in height than the previous one. That's because I took out any breakdowns, so the breakdowns are not giving us extra rows here. You will notice, however, that in terms of width, it is a little bit wider, and that's because we have the event on the top, so stream started versus stream completed. Then we have the different segments here, so segment 1, segment 2, and then the same deal over here, segment 1 and segment 2. And then under each of those segments, we have the current and previous time periods. So you can really see how these different levels of evaluation stack when they're put together. You can still use the show percent change and get a general idea of what's going on here as you're adding different comparisons, different segments, and different events as well, different measures. This can be really nice when you pair this with breakdowns, which is this next section right here. So as you can see, this becomes more of a cross tab when you add different breakdowns. And just to show you what I did up here, I have still the unique stream started for users, the unique stream completed for users, the same different segments, the same comparison, but I just added content type. So now content type make up those extra rows, and it becomes more of a crosstab view of how each of these are performing. As you can see here, it gives you a pretty good idea of what's going on with each of these, and you can see that even though before it was all minus 3.25%, when we break out specifically on shows and movies has a better performance compared to the previous period, whereas the overall group does not. So being able to break out based on various breakdowns as well as segments and different measures can be really useful in understanding how your data is performing overall. You can also export any of these breakdowns, any of these tables to CSV, and you'll be able to do further transformation there if there's things you want to add or remove. Lastly, one more thing to consider about data table is its troubleshooting measures. So one thing that we don't use very frequently in our measure by is this unique values. So if I select a particular event, like let's say our stream started, and I select a country, what I can do is I can also select that property as a breakdown. So if I come here and I select country again, what this will do is it'll give me all of the countries where stream started had happened. So this can be really interesting for two reasons. First, you can take this and compare it to where streams were completed, let's say, in other countries, and you might find that there are some differences. So it might lead you to questions like, if people are starting streams in one country, but nobody's completed a stream in that country, how come there's that difference? How come there's that discrepancy? But this is also very good for when you're building other reports and you want to use a filter and you don't necessarily know what values apply. So if I were to come in here and look at country as well, I would know exactly which ones apply to stream started so that I don't waste time fiddling around with them and trial and erroring it until I find one that works. So overall, as we scroll down, you'll see that this is a list of each country that has appeared at least once within the stream started event. This is a really useful application and one that not many people come across organically. So it's really good to consider if you're ever stuck or needing to troubleshoot what values occur in which properties for specific events.